Hello and welcome to Stream Tabulous. So you might be frustrated with Kohya. I know a lot of people have tried Kohya SS and they haven't been able to get it to work. There is another alternative to Kohya SS, which is called Onetrainer. The beauty with Onetrainer is it's aimed to be apparently more simplistic, and I wouldn't really say it is from my perspective. But the big benefit to it is that it is able to run on lower end graphics cards, where with Queer, you really need 24 gigs of VRAM and up, so you're not able to train those SDXL models. With Onetrainer, it is able to train Loras using 6 gig of VRAM. So if you've got an 8 gig VRAM graphics card, you should be able to train a Lora, which is a huge benefit and is what a lot of people want. And from my perspective, if we can get a Lora trainer which is working for more people, especially people with lower end systems, then we get more models out there, which means we get more diversity in the types of images being generated. So there is more uniqueness in the styles, which I think is a good thing. Now, this is probably going to be a two-parter because I'm going to show you how to install it. But for myself, I haven't been able to get it to actually do a decent Lora as yet. I believe it's actually something on my end, and there is not a lot of articles on how to use it at this stage. So we'll go through and we'll take a look at what we need to install it, how to install it, some of the things that I'm running into, and why I don't think mine is currently rendering well. So we'll go over to the intro and then we'll get over and look at what you need and how to install it. Okay, let's just slide in here. Okay, so here we are on GitHub, of course, and we're looking at the Onetrainer Git page. Now, I'll put, of course, all the links in the description, whether it be below, left, right, wherever YouTube decided to slap it. If you've been changed on your YouTube layout and it's frustrating you, there's usually a feedback. At the moment, it's underneath the menu on the left-hand side, and if you say that you don't like the layout, they generally will revert you back to the old layout. So something handy to know. Back to what we're looking at. So this is Onetrainer. So we can come down and you can read about it and what it supports and what it does. So it's a wide variety of Loras that it will train for the types of models that are out there, which is fantastic. And we can see the interface here. And it's driven to be simplistic, where you just simple clicks. It's meant to be more intuitive. Now, intuitive doesn't really mean intuitive unless you understand how it works. Now, I have found some things in this to be, well, it's certainly easier to set up. But I think I've got something going on the back end for Python or Torch itself, which is causing my current issues. So I'm hoping this works for you. And of course, we'll go through how to set it up. I'll go through the basics of how to use it. You guys can test it out. And we'll see who generates a working Lora perfectly first with low-end systems. And once you've worked it out, perhaps you can upload, and we'll talk about the config files and that, or share your settings. So we'll come down, and it just says here to clone. So we've got that, and that's how we clone it, and how to install it. So we can go through all that. Now, I'm not seeing specifications for what is required to actually use it. So we come down and, I mean, I found out later that this is really designed to run with the old version of Python, so 3.10. Yeah, there it is there. So it's designed to run with the older version of Python. So I had 3.10.6, which Kohya works perfectly well with. Now, I don't know if that was a problem, so I rolled back, but even though I rolled back, I'm still having issues. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I may have to clean my system a little bit more. So keep that in mind. Once I work out my issues, of course, we'll share that in a video. If I get it working, hopefully I do. I'm reaching out to community people, help me solve my issue, and to work out how to set it up more properly, which is why this will be a two-part. But yeah, we'll get on with it. So, of course, you're going to need Git to pull this. You're going to need Python. And yeah, you're also going to need CUDA. So we have Git. So we'll put all these links below. So you want to come down to the download. And then you just want to download the Windows version and install it. It's pretty straightforward. Python is an interesting one because you want to come over to the Python and then to download. So, of course, you'll come up to this page here. And you'll come over to your downloads, which is here, already up on it. And then we'll come down to here and we scroll down until we see version 10. Now, the interesting thing about Python is you'll see there's 12, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 11. So it is all over the place. So keep that in mind when you're scrolling down because you may think that, oh, well, I'm in 7, so I've got to go back up to find 10. Not the case. Keep scrolling. This is actually rather frustrating. It'd be nice if it was in, if you could sort by release version or sort by date, I think would be fantastic. So when we come down, we see 3.10. You just want to click on download, and then you want to come down, keep going, keep going, keep going until we come to here. 64-bit, 32-bit. Now, I've installed the 64-bit version. I'm probably going to see if I can put the 32-bit version on as well and see if that fixes some of my issues and run both of them. But I'm not sure if that's the case. I think you only need the 64-bit version because you're running on a 64-bit system. So, yeah, I'll play with that. And if you guys play with it, you can feedback. Perhaps you're already running Onetrainer and you can just leave a comment and let us know. So, yeah, install your Python. And then we want to come through to the Nvidia Toolkit. I'm assuming you guys are already going to have these 3 installed, especially if you're using Krita or something like that. So you don't have to log in. We're just going to hit this little cross here. We're just going to say we're on a Windows version. We're on that architecture. And for myself, I'm running 10. And then we're going to download the toolkit here. There are different versions of toolkits, and it doesn't specify which version to use. I'm going to update mine to this today. I'm currently on version 11. So download that and install that as well. Once you've got Git installed and then you've got your Python installed and that, you can come back down onto this page, scroll on down until we get to the automatic installation. We're going to copy this here, and then we're going to create a folder. So I've already created that. So I've just gone into my PC, and I'll just drag that screen over. And there we go. So I've gone onto my E drive, my programs, and Onetrainer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to type CMD up the top here in the search. I'm going to press enter, and that's going to bring up my command line. Once I've got my command line up there, I'm going to Control V to paste in the Git clone code, and then I'm going to just simply press enter. And then she's going to go through, and this is actually going to take a while. Okay, this one doesn't take a while. So once that's done, we'll have our clone. We can come through, and then we have the install, the update, and so forth. So we want to do the install. So we're going to double click on the install bat. This is the one that's going to take a while. That's going to open up your command line interface, and it may look like it's paused a few times. Step away, have a coffee, come back. It is going to take a while. There's a couple of processes in this which are going to take a little bit of time, but we're just going to let it go and see how we go. I did notice this popped up a bit. I'm not sure what that means, but generally it seemed to install quite fine. So I found that to be odd, and I got 2 warnings on the on the 3060. So Yeah, I don't know if there's some problems with the installer. I think this is, from what I can read with how to use it and find online, it seems to go back to about August last year. So I'm not sure how long it's been out for. Be able to come up and find some initial dates on here. Okay. Sometimes you can find the versions and you can go through and find the dates, but there's no multiple versions on this one. It just is what it is. But we can see it goes up to 6 months ago here. So, yeah, I mean, probably late last year, I believe this come into play. I'm not entirely sure. But, yeah, I mean, there's not a lot out there on it for how to use it. And there's not a lot on there for this sort of thing here with the troubleshooting. But personally, I think it's still a bit of a work in progress. And I think once it gets sorted out, it'll work fantastic. And on CivitAI, there's a couple of tutorials on there, and they're sharing their config files, and they're using low-end RTX systems, RTX 3050 user on there using this, generating loras and sharing his loras on CivitAI. And you can see that it's got really beautiful results in their SDXLs as well. So obviously people are actually generating it. It's either a problem in my system or it's something I'm doing wrong. And like I said, it'll be two parts. So we'll hopefully get there and work that out. But to offer those low-end systems, I think that's great. But I'm not seeing anyone really go through and show an install and whether this sort of thing here is normal. If you're installing it, let me know in the comments. Are you getting these warnings? Because as we go through, I'm hoping that we can refine that and find out what's normal, what's not normal, and that will help work out how to actually use this. So, of course, this will take a while. I mean, we've got 2.7 gig just on this one here, and there is one which is 10 gig. So I'm going to step away, and we'll come back when it's done. Okay, we're back. Now, it has completely finished, and yeah, once it finishes, it's just going to come up with press any key to complete, or, you know, whatever. When you press that, it's going to close off the CMD. Once that's done, all we have to do is launch our start UI bat. Now, you can just create a shortcut to that, and we can name that. We can call that Onetrainer. We can do that. Now, if we come into our Windows start bar, okay, so what you want to do is you want to come into this folder. So it's on this PC, Windows disk, program data, Microsoft Windows start menu. When you're in there, this is the one where when you open up your start bar, you see all your program applications. You can also drop shortcuts in this part of the directory here, and these will all show up on your start bar. So by doing that, now that we've created a shortcut over here, we can actually copy that shortcut that we've created. We can come back across into here, into this folder, and we can paste a copy of that in there. We'll say yes. And once we've got that, now when we go to our start bar, it will actually come up on our start bar, so we don't have to worry about popping into here every time. We can just go to all applications in our start bar, scroll down until you hit the one, and then just like that, instead of clicking that, I've clicked the shortcut that I've created, and it is now running. So we'll give that a moment. Not sure what this line is here. I've not seen that before. It seems to be no such directory for the training preset JSON, which is this. So it definitely has a directory created. And what we want to do is we want to come down to this one here, the SDXL Lora. And this is what we're going to use to actually create our, to input our data set to create our Lora. Okay, so give me a moment and I'll walk you through and show you how to do that. Okay, now back into this main folder here. That's the Onetrainer which was created when we did the CMD for the Git pull, and then we've installed it and we've created our little shortcut there so we can launch it from our start directory. And of course we've started it, and this is what it looks like here, and you've got your drop downs and you can save and create configs. So once you've got it working, you can create your own configuration. When you created your own configuration and you've got it all working fine and dandy, if you come into training presets here, they're actually in here. So whatever you choose to name it will be in here. And you can copy that and paste it on your cloud, and then I can download it and give it a try, and hopefully it fixes my issue if I'm doing something wrong with my data preset. But it's also a great way to back it up. So keep that in mind. So these are the preset ones. It should be as easy as click it, run it, and you're done. I've tried that and it hasn't worked for me. Now I've created my my data set here. So this is just the same as we did with the SD 1.5. It's the exact same data set. So we've come through and we've given it all its naming here. I've used the WD14 captioning from Kohya SS because that is, well, it does such a fantastic job with the captioning. I love it, and I think it is the best captioning. So that's been done, and I've cropped all these, and these are all 1024 by 124, so they're the 128 by 128, sorry. So these are the optimum size for the training data set. We're going to come back in here, and we're going to create a folder, and we're going to call it training. And then we're going to come back into here. We're going to see all this. And actually what I might do is I might just copy that. So we're going to Control-C that. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to paste that into there. So we want workspace, and we want a folder in there, and create that one as run. I'm going to create that. And then we're going to come back across. And we can point that to our directories that we've just created. So we can click on that and go through to it. Okay, so now we have that one set up. We're going to do this one here. Same thing, click it, navigate to the folder that we've created, and we will run that. So now we know where they are. They're locked in, so they're in our directory, and we'll be able to view those. And you want to do this because as it's creating things, we're going to see data in there, which we can use to see how our model's actually generating. We come through to here, and we want to select our base model. So select your Stable Diffusion, your SDXL base. If you don't have that, we can come through and we can type in Hugging Face and SDXL base. We'll come through to here. I should leave this in the link below. We'll have files and versions. We come down to here, and it's this one here that it's using. So you want to download that one, and you can put that wherever you want. You can put it in the same directory, which might be handy. And that's how we're going to run that. And then we're going to select that here. Okay, so I've downloaded that SDXL base model. I've just put that there, and we're just going to select that and point it to the directory. And now we have that base model set up in there, so it knows what it's using. These here, depending on what you're setting it up for, these can be heavier usage on the VRAM. So bfloat is meant to use the lowest amount of RAM. Float32 is meant to be the best quality, but uses the highest amount of VRAM. It's recommended that you just leave the settings as is. But I have seen, and I've tested it with multiple settings, and as I said, I'm having a problem, but I think it's backend, meaning the Python behind it and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, bfloat, I've tested it with that as well. But we'll leave that here anyway for this model output. So this is what our model is going to be called and where it's going to output it to. So we'll create, again, in this directory here, so I'm just going to call it Lora models made, and I'm going to point that to that path. Okay, when you're adding it to that path, you will have to also type in Lora safe tensor or me safe tensor or my Lora safe tensor. So you'll need to add that there. You can also just add that there as well, and that will change it so when it saves it, that's what it will be. So now we have our general, and we can ignore a lot of this here. We're just going to leave it on default, which is what is recommended to do by the creators and by people I talk to. Auto bracketing, so that's basically if you're using widescreen images. So I think it's personally best to leave it as default. Some people are just using the 128 by 128 images or 124 by 124, and they're turning that off and they're turning that off. So yeah, clear cache before training. It creates a cache file every time it works. So that speeds things up if you have that off. But if you're having problems, and I'd leave that on. And I'm leaving it on at the moment whilst I'm doing my testing. Concepts. This is the interesting one. So you can add it on here, or you can create a config file for your concept. So in this case, I'm going to create one. I'm going to get this little pop-up here. I'm going to put a name in it. So I've named that me, and now that comes up here. So I can come down, and then I can add a concept, which will bring this up. And we click on that. That's going to open this up here. And name. Every time I press M, it cycles through my my screens on my OBS recorder, so that's a little bit annoying. So you'll have to forgive me with some of the editing. Path, point it to where your file is. So that's where my images are there. So E programs, Onetrainer, and that's where I put my images. Now I have the text files in there as I've shown. So we'll leave that as is. It's recommended to leave this as is. There's no repeats as in before you do that calculation of 1500 divided the number of images, and it'll give you what your best option is to do repeats. We don't have that because apparently it's not needed with SDXL training, or at least what the person that I thought was the maker of Kohya, but he's not. He just does videos on it and has nothing to do with it. But he's mentioned in his videos, I did this and I did that and I had this implemented and I had that implemented, or I implemented this, which I took it to mean he actually made it, but he didn't create it at all. He just put in requests which were put into Kohya. So I found that very interesting. So the video where I linked to him and his tutorials, you can, I mean, he's good at what he does, but take it with a grain of salt. I probably wouldn't be paying his, well, I don't pay his Patreon fees. Yeah, I'd rather support the creator. I'm not sure who that is to link to. Okay, so repeat seems to change. This balancing has an effect on the repeats. But there's no correlation. It's not like 12 images. If I put a 2 in there, then it repeats it 24 times and so forth. Which I think would be more logical, because if you wanted to repeat 130 times, it's what you'd put in there. So around about 60 repeats the 12 images 130 times. But if there's more images, then that escalates astronomically. So there's no way that I've worked out yet to work out how this affects how many repeats there is. But from what I can see for the few people that are training with this version, because the old version actually had repeats, with this version they just leave it as 1, and they say it has no bearing on the render. All this everyone just leaves as default. They do turn these off, which rotates the image, and we can come through here and we can see these. And if we do like you know, the random flip, then these images will reverse and be all over the place. So there's no reason why I shouldn't get a good LoRa. So override resolution, well, that's the resolution that's in there. You could put that on, so if you've got a small file, you can put that on and make it a larger image and so forth. So that's something to keep in mind. I might come back to that. Let's have a look at something here. I thought I cropped these to 124, but they're 128. So I'll put 1024 in there, and I'm going to see if that makes a difference. Okay, so you can add as many as you want, so you can pile up, so you can turn these on and off. It'll be ignored with the training. It'll be paid attention to. So say you're wanting to train a fairy, and you've got an entire concept of fairies, and you train that model, and you're like, okay, I like it, but I want it to be, I don't know, more gothic or more older looking. Then you could put a whole heap of images in there of people based in a certain time period of gothic look, and you can tick that, and you can sort of train something which merges those two together. So that's something interesting. Or if you've trained one and then you find more images that you want to add to that and then add on to that LoRa, you can do that, as in retraining new LoRa with more. So you can add your concepts, and then you can go, well, that didn't work. I'll turn these ones off and I'll retrain it just with the other ones. And to do that, you just duplicate. Which that person that said that he, well, I took it as he created Kohya with the way he talks. His suggestion to getting repeats is you can still do repeats. You just press this and that will give you your repeats. So that will be, you know, 12, 24, 48, and you get the gist. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really think it works like that. So, but that's an interesting take. I might actually try that for this one and see if his suggestion works in any way well. Coming across, so this is meant to be the fastest and the default that it is on. We can see it's already on, I mean, it's obviously set for SDXL Lora. So you should be able to leave this. There is settings which I have tried, which people have recommended, which is add factor there, and then it's add factor there. And then this learning rate is a code instead, say 0E dash something or other. And I've tried all those settings to no luck. Epochs, obviously it's best to leave it at a 100, and your batch size will leave that as 4. A lot of people do batch size of 2. Plain text encoder, I'm not sure what that is, but everyone always has it on. So in this case, I'm going to turn that on. I think it's got something to do with encoding text into the images. But I'm not sure if it's got something to do with the actual text files themselves. So it's something to keep in mind. So yeah, I mean, basically everyone just leaves this as default. I mean, you can obviously do your training resolution smaller or larger, but we're going to leave this as this. This one's interesting. This is minutes. So what we want to do is we want to change this to epochs. So every time it creates one epoch, it will generate a model, and we can generate an image. And then we can see that image, and we can see how the model is progressing in its training. This is how I know that my model's currently not working, because it's the same image every single time. There's no change in the image. And it doesn't matter what settings I've tried. So I do think it's back-end, but I'm hoping to be pointed out, no, you've not enabled this, or you've done this wrong, and I'm hoping to solve that problem. Once it's solved, I'll redo this as a one-piece tutorial to walk through, but this is more just to get you started, to give you an idea of what you're actually doing. So what we want to do there is we're going to change that to every one epoch. Every one epoch, so every one generation, we want it to make a sample image for us. So, and that's our samples there, and then we're just going to add a sample. And of course, we want that to be 1024. I don't know why it has a seed there, if it should have a seed or shouldn't have a seed. So then we're going to come across and we're going to put our text prompt in. So there's no right click, so we have to Control-C, Control-V. So I'm going to put that in there. Now, we'll remove the word big. Okay. So this is directly copied from one of the text files which has been created. So technically, because it's been copied from that text file created, we should get a render of one of those images, or very, very close to it, with the interpretation of AI. This is another how I know it's not working. I have put in, they call these things tokens. And it's a unique word that shouldn't really be something which may not be found in other models or found in anything. So all we're doing here is we're putting XX and then we're putting Sunny. So my nickname in there. Okay. So this token should trigger the Lora and generate our image. Now this is designed to actually use the Lora anyway, so it's not going to be just generating it from the base model. It will be using Lora because it's written in to do that, which is another reason I know it's not working. So for me anyway, at the moment. I know some people say I talk a bit slow. I do that to try to get a message across. So if you don't like it, you just kick out of the channel and, you know, don't watch it. Easy. Okay, backups. So this will back up the entire configuration every couple of renders. I think it's where you can sort of continue from, or you can go through and there will be a model backed up. So you can say, hey, after so many epochs, you know, do a save. And then you can go through and you can copy that model and test that model out, which in general, the idea of that is, so coming back to those samples, so you can go through and say, okay, number 15 was absolutely perfect. Everything before that was rubbish. Everything after that was rubbish. And you can go through and say, okay, I've had it on backing up every one epoch. So I want backup number 15, and I want that model from that. And then you have the perfect Lora theory. Okay, so we're not going to use that. Tools. These, yeah. I'm not entirely sure what all these are, but I do know this one here is to create your text file. And we can open that up and we'll bring that over. So we'll open up our images. And we can see our images here. So apparently we can do masks and edits, so we can ensure that it's only concentrated on the face and so forth. And I'm not overly certain how that works. And we can generate our captions, and if we click that, it'll bring this up here. So we can put the initial caption, so that'd be me or X, Sunny X. And then we can click the type. Now, that is nothing like kohya. It kicks out very bad captioning. So I've tried Blip and I've tried the other ones, and it has played no difference in my renders at this current point of time. If I'm wrong and you know more about this and about that captioning and hints for that and tips, throw a comment. If you've got a video on it, leave a link. I'm happy with that. I don't do this for money. I do this for education, just to try to help people out and pass on anything that I learn. And yeah, that's basically it. And of course I got into it because of disability. It's a new way for me to do art. So that's that. That's pretty straightforward. The videos I've seen don't have this here. Now, I know these are usually, from what I remember, is that and that. So they're the separations. So something to keep in mind. Creative absent, replace all captions, and so forth. Add as new line. Not entirely sure what that is. So yeah. Subfolders, if you've got multiple folders of images, I recommend just have it in one and then create, and it should go through and create it. I'm not going to do that because I've already got the texts in there, and it should be able to read it the way it is. Embeddings. You know, I don't know if you know what an embedding is. You'd have to go back and watch the video on, you know, the terminologies and that for how models are and the different types of models and the way they render. So that's that beautiful text file that describes what something should look like. So, for example, I can put a text embedding in there of my description, and that would help with it. So, or should help with it. So that's what an embedding is. So you could do that as well. And then we have Lora. Now, I haven't seen this used by anyone. Like, I'm not sure what it plays in because it's got base model. But we have the base model over here. Every sample I've seen, every article I have read, every video I've seen, this wasn't in it, and then it magically appeared. And when it magically appeared, this has always been left blank. No one really touches this. Some people touch this, and this does affect the output size of the model. So generally, output size, well, for me, is between a 100 and 200 megabyte with those 12 images, playing with these settings. If we increase this to, say, 168, we get an output of 2 gig for our output model. So not sure what these all means. And what I'm seeing, it doesn't seem like a lot of people, no one's really talked about it or mentioned it. If you know what it is, again, comments. Are you using this? Do you already know about this? Are you using Onetrainer? I'd love to know. Comments help me out. I'm learning it. I want to pass on that knowledge to other people. As mentioned in the beginning, the more people making models, the better. Because then it gives us, if they put them up on CivitAI, which is what I'm going to be doing, you're going to have a lot more, you know, diversity between art, which I think is fantastic. So yeah, so we're coming through, we've got our concepts in there. We could go through and we could change each one of those concepts, but we're not going to do that. Just wanted to go through and check. Yeah, on the 4K monitor, that's what I wanted to talk about. On the 4K panel, so I've got a 3060 graphics card in the lounge room with 4K resolution. With 4K resolution, of course, you need to use scaling, otherwise you can't read a thing on the screen that's too tiny. There's no scroll. This gets cut off from here, so you can't even see that. So if you're missing that, it is scaling and resolution. I did leave a comment to the developer of that bug, and hopefully we see that fixed, because I didn't know that existed, and that's actually really handy. And the other thing that I don't see is coming across to here on the general. I don't see this temp device. Device used temporarily to offload the model when... Yeah, okay. So that's kind of handy as well. I think a lot of people have that on CUDA, which is interesting. I'm going to leave that as is because this one is a GTX 1070, and I'm not even sure how this is going to run with it. It would be extraordinarily interesting. So I did find with... Okay, that's the other thing. I'll point that out. These don't pop up on the other monitor, so I haven't actually been able to read what these are. So we can see here the number of samples used during training, the repeats to multiply the concept or the samples to specify an exact number of samples used in each epochs. Approach? I think people pronounce it epochs, but I'm not entirely sure. If you can do the pronunciation for that below, I'll look at it and we'll see if my neurological brain actually can remember it. I'll be interested. So yeah, I mean, that basically says what that chappie that mentions that will seem to apply that he had a big hand in creating kohya. That's wrong. You know, doing that isn't the way to go. Doing this is. So I mentioned before around about 40 or 50 or 60. I think 60 gives me about 100. It's going to take a while on this old system, and I just want to see if there's images changing at the moment. So I'm just going to put 20 in there, and that's going to help multiply. And this is going to take a while, so we're going to hit Start Training. Going to move that off the screen. Okay, and we can see here, so I can see my videos working properly. We can see here that it's going to go through and it's going to start working. Now, generally this is going to take a while. It's also generally going to load stuff as well. So it's going to come through and load a bunch of stuff up. Now, if we come over to here, once it starts running, you'll see these as progress bars, which is really nice to see. But what we don't see is anything like time remaining. It'd even be nice if there was a fluctuating time remaining, so we could actually see, you know, how, give us an approximation of how long it's actually going to run. So if we, you know, obviously, I recommend if you're running this, you know, just let it run in the background and go to bed. So, but it would be nice to know how long something is running. And this here says that, you know, it's going to be 15 seconds. Of course, we're not going to get that because the way it runs is, you know, dependent on what is happening in the background. And I do remember this downloading a 10 gig file and doing some stuff. So we'll turn that off and we'll stop recording for a moment. We'll come back and we'll take a look at where this is. Okay, I had a suspicion we might get something like this because this is just an old GTX 1070. Which may be a little bit of a downside to anyone running something like that. But as I mentioned in the beginning, people are running the RTX, what is it, RTX 3050s. I think there are 6 gig that they're running from memory. And they're able to run and create the SDXL Loras that I've seen on CivitAI. And I've tried their settings, but I'm having an issue. I was hoping to sort it with this one and actually use it as a guideline to try to work out what's going on. Now, this one here is obviously saying that the decoder is not supported. And it's mentioning the types of CPUs, and it is mentioning this one is too old. So we can see here that we're not actually kicking out anything. So here we can see here that running it on the 3060, I get this error down here, the CUDA backend, and I don't know if that's the reason why my loras are actually failing. But someone pointed out that yes, since the recent upgrade of Onetrainer, they've been getting this same error. What they didn't specify is whether their loras are still working or they're not working. So yeah, that's interesting to me that we're getting something like that, which is why I wonder if there's a Python error or something going on in the background. And of course, I'll update you once I get it sorted and get it working, because I know other people are probably going to run into these issues. And yeah, please use the comments below and let's talk about this, discuss settings and what you're using on the graphics card and how you're actually running. Okay, so I know it was a long video and kind of frustrating probably as well, seeing that, hey, you've set it up, but you haven't got it working, I'm going to give you a downvote. Well, it's not about that at the moment. It's about pointing out that there is an alternative tool out there to kohya that a lot of people that I'm getting with kohya, I get a lot of people saying, I'm getting this error, I'm getting that error, how do I fix it? I can't get it working. And that's through and through. You can go into multiple threads on different forums and get the same problem. I cannot get kohya to work. And that's with the SD 1.5s. Apparently this one here will kick out an SD 1.5 with no problems whatsoever. With just, you know, click it, leave it as it's set up, do the inputs as I've shown you, and just run it. And you know, I see a lot of positive reviews for people with older hardware or wanting something more simplistic to use it. But what I'm seeing a lot of is people that are running the RTX. There's a person running an RTX 2060, There's the 3050, and there's a lot of 3060 8GB users using this to train SDXLs. And that's what I want it for myself. Don't have money for a big fancy graphics card because kohya really requires 24GB of RAM to do a SDXL model. So obviously that's out the window for someone on a pension like myself. And yeah, I mean, I do have a 3060 8GB, and if I can get it running, it'll be fantastic. And I know a lot of users that are using CUDA, which brings you to my channel, are using 30 series graphics cards and RTX 20 series graphics cards with 8GB of VRAM, 6GB of VRAM, so forth, which means this tool is probably, or I pretty much guarantee it from what I'm reading on CivitAI and in forums, is ideal for you. So install it, go through, set it up, give it a try, see how you go. I probably can leave some setup files that I've tried, but at the same time, it's like, well, okay, look, I've been given this setup file. I could upload it so you could drop it in and try it. But if it's not working for me, I can't guarantee that it's going to work for you unless it really is a back-end issue with Python or the CUDA and so forth. But yeah, install it, try it, see how it goes, and hopefully you'll be making loras on your older RTX or lower-end RTX graphics cards. Hopefully you like this video. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Bell on for notifications. I've been sick. I'm not doing too well lately, so hasn't been a lot of content popping up. But I didn't mean there's models that are popping up all over the place, which are fantastic. The creator Ackley for Kryter is working on implementing Stable Diffusion 3, which is out. I wouldn't be in a rush to move over to it. Let's just say that. I mean, it's probably going to be good once the community start training it. So yeah, there's lots of little things going on. There's an update for Kryter, or I haven't actually tried it, 1.18. If you've tried it, perhaps leave a comment wherever and tell me what you think of it. And of course, don't forget to get over to Ackley and support him, because supporting him certainly helps and gives him that encouragement to implement more things into the Kryter AI diffusion as well. And yeah, I will see you in the next Streamtabulous video. Thank you for watching my video and sticking around to the end. If you like my videos, it'd really help me out if you could like and subscribe. It helps the YouTube algorithm to push my videos out there to more viewers, which in turn helps me and helps everyone. So thank you for watching my video and hanging around to the end, and I will see you in the next video.